Good day, welcome to the Automotive Dad, and welcome to this, the all-new 2024 Suzuki Swift. Now, this is a massive facelift, regeneration, however you want to call it. The Swift has had a big change, but underneath, it's still tiny but mighty. Powered by a 1.2 litre 3-cylinder, this one only produces 80 horsepower, gets to 62 miles an hour in about 12.5 seconds. But with 127-ish newton meters of torque and a top speed of 100 miles an hour, it doesn't really hang around. And being a hybrid, it means at low RPMs, it even kind of acts like a diesel. The Swift can be on the road from £19,000, but this one in burning red, you're going to be closer to about 21,000. So join me as we have a look around the all-new Suzuki Swift. Now let's start with the front end, because this is the big facelift. Whilst it does still look quite a lot like a Swift, instead of these really sharp angles that so many manufacturers are going with, Suzuki have kind of said, well, let's smooth them off a little bit. New headlight design's really nice, and these are LED, really good at night. Nice new grille design, and even though this isn't a sport, dare I say, this kind of looks sporty. Front end, immediately when it turned up, took me a little while to get used to, but now I'm digging it more. I quite like it now. But I do still prefer the previous generation. Now, side design wise, this is where you go, yeah, that's definitely a Swift. It's changed, but the design architecture hasn't changed that much that you can't tell it's a Swift. It has got really lovely lines and curves and sweeps, and it's a nice put together side profile. 16-inch diamond cut alloys, which they look great, but I'm so scared of curbs and potholes with them. But besides that, I mean, the side design is really lovely, and Suzuki have done a good job of keeping that kind of historical Swift design with this new Swift. Now, the back end is my favourite part of the whole car, because all these flowing nice lines flow to the back of the car. So it leads your eye there. This new tail light design, lovely. They're LED, super bright. The boot design is just nice. It's not flat, it's not a slab, it's not boring, it's got nice curves. So many cars of this marketplace, like the MG3, have one thing going for them. Because like the MG3, the front end is a face that only a mother could love, whereas the back of that is the only good bit. The whole of this car looks really reasonable, really nicely designed, but the back is the best part. By far, for me, it's just really nicely brought together, and I just think they've done a really good job. So the interior. Now, Suzuki aren't known for doing luxurious interiors, and this is no exception to that rule. But that said, they've never done poorly designed ones. And again, that's no exception to the rule, because this is a lovely design, but it just has a lot of hard-wearing plastics. That said, that's quite handy in a functional family car. Now, being the Ultra, this has a bit more tech than the standard car, including heated seats. But it has so many things as standard now, the Swift, including like Apple CarPlay. I mean, you've got a Climatronic option here, a automatic climate control, which is really good. You've got everything in front of you that you could possibly need and at your fingertips. They've not taken buttons away really from the steering wheel, except for the infotainment, where it's almost dedicated with touchscreen, which is a bit annoying because as per this, the infotainment's still a little bit behind others in the marketplace. It's just a little bit slow and laggy. But that's my only complaint, really. From the driver's seat, the seat is comfortable, the headroom is more than acceptable. And in my seating position, you can fit 2 car seats in the back. And you're not compromising the front passenger space. You can fit a forward-facing and a rear-facing seat in the back without issue. You can't do that in an MG3. There's not enough space with my seating position. And you can't do it in a Corsa either. Literally, there is no space. You have to put the passenger seat as far forward as they possibly can. There's plenty of room to go forward. Continuing from the driver's perspective, again, you've got things like power folding wing mirrors, you've got electric wing mirrors, and so many entry-level cars don't have these, like the power fold option. Suzuki have always offered that as something extra. The interior is just honest. It's not trying to be something it's not. It's a practical, hard-wearing interior that will stand the test of time and is spacious enough, all things considered, to do all your family considerations. And when I say that, I do seriously mean all considerations and quite spacious. Join me in the back of the car. Now the boot, because that is the really impressive part of this. 265 litres at minimum. 589 litres of maximum space if you put the seats down, but that 265 litres of space means that, and I'm not kidding, you can fit a full shop in this boot with a pram and bags, as in your a baby and a toddler changing bag. You can fit all of that in the back and close it without the parcel shelf having to be removed or anything. And whilst bigger prams may require some extra disassembly to fit in here, your eye candies will need the wheels removed. Little things like this Cassatos, don't worry about it. They just go in sideways, flat, however you want, and leave plenty of room. It's more than wide enough to fit anything that you could possibly want. So the boot space is hugely practical. Seriously impressive. So I need to start this with a caveat that I really don't like the clutch in this car. I can liken it only to a marshmallow, because I can't really tell when it's coming or going. Until I was fully adjusted to the car, I genuinely sounded like I was slipping the clutch and I jolted about. And that's really the only bad bit about the drive, because the gearbox itself feels pretty good. The steering is incredibly responsive. The way that this deals with potholes and English roads is superb. It's not even very crashy. The throttle is incredibly responsive. Bearing in mind this only has 80 horsepower and 127 newton meters of torque. It's really responsive. Dare I say, at lower RPMs, almost diesel responsive, obviously because of the mild hybrid system. And I just can't fault anything else. That the way this handles is just not what you expect. So the only bad bit is the clutch. And once you're adjusted to it, it's fine. It's just getting adjusted to it. Now, on paper, Suzuki say in the best case scenario, you can see 75 miles to the gallon in a really, really, really good cycle. Maybe. But what I saw was that you really struggle to get less than 60. Because this says I've got 60 miles to the gallon now, but it's been sat idling. So in a minute, that's probably going to start going up. At absolute worst, I have never seen this under 57 miles to the gallon, which is just immense, considering how expensive petrol is. The whole drive of this car is just incredibly reasonable. And whilst it's not a sports car, it doesn't drive like a slot box. It does give a little bit back, whilst not being too over-responsive. It's just generally a pretty decent drive once you get past that clutch. And from the driver's perspective, you can see everything. You have every option that you possibly need on the Ultra to not clang into anyone, including blind spot monitor, etc, etc, etc. So generally from a drive point of view, Suzuki have nailed it, because this isn't too much of anything. It's just a good balance of exactly what you want. So well done, Suzuki. But next time, just maybe put a slightly more heavy duty clutch in, because that's all it needs to be really good. So how to summarise the new Swift? It's really quite good. Besides the one issue I have with driving it being the marshmallow clutch, the rest of it seems quite reasonable. Aesthetically, it's really nice. You can get a basic Swift from about £19,000 on the road, but if you go for one like this exact car's £21,000 on the road, and everything just seems quite reasonable. It comes with a bunch of technology, tons of practicality, and more economy than you can shake a stick at. I mean, up to 75 miles to the gallon. Realistically, no matter how poorly you drive, you'll never see under 60 so long as you're moving. Obviously, stuck in traffic, different thing. This seems made for not just inner city lifestyle, but it can cope with motorways. It can cope with family life. It can cope with any life. I think generally, it's just a hugely impressive car. So well done, Suzuki.